Hey guys, so I have a speed rigging video here for Sugarfox's model. We're going to go over the rigging video together, and I'm kind of going to speak over the video and explain my process. Now, there's going to be multiple parts for this. This is just going to be the facial expression, so let's get started. Okay, so here I'm starting off by making the meshes for the parts. Most of the parts I use the auto mesh feature, especially the circular ones, as they don't need a detailed mesh. You can see for the iris and the cornea here, I just go ahead and use the auto mesh feature that Live2d has included. For more complex shapes like the eye lines that need to deform a lot, they need more detailed meshes, so I do those manually with the mesh line tool. The more a mesh needs to deform, the more detailed it should be. So the cornea does not deform a lot, therefore it can have a very simple mesh, but the eye line deforms a lot, completely reverses in shape, so it needs to have a complex one. So here I'm just now moving the eye line and the other eye shapes with the temporary path deform tool and also some of the brush drag tool. And then I'm doing the same mesh editing to the eyebrow as I did for the eyeline, because that also has a wide range of deformations when the face is making expressions. Here, I'm just kind of getting a hang of what I want the eye open and closed to look like. I kind of spam it here because it helps me see what kind of shape I'm going for. Now, most of the eye parts, I will move or key them directly onto the parameters. However, for the eyelashes, I actually move them with deformers, as you can see here. This is in case the eyelashes have physics, because I like to key the eyelash to the physics parameter. And if you key it to the physics parameter and the eye open parameter, it can make some really funky and not nice looking movement. So that's why I'm choosing to move the eyelashes with deformers. Okay, new music. Okay, so here I'm moving the eyelashes down, and I didn't like how they look when they stayed above the top eyeline, so I keyed the draw order and I made it so the eyelashes move below the eyeline when the eye closes. The corner lash is always kind of a weird thing for me to move, so I'm just messing around here and seeing what shape I like best. When I move the eye corner piece, the piece that goes up from the white of the eye into the top eyeline, I use a temporary path deform and I kind of just follow along the eye white because I see it creates a better closing shape per se. Now you can see here I'm switching onto the eye smile shape. So in anime characters, there's like an eye close shape that's natural, but then the eye smile, the eyes create more of an N shape instead of a U, so it's reverse. So I am now keying the eye smile onto all the previous shapes we just did. So the eyes will have a regular open and then a smile open. I do this for all the rigs I have. I think it just adds a lot more life to the rig, and it also gives you a lot more flexibility when you're going to make expressions and toggles. Now the top lashes are all separated, but the bottom ones are together, and that's because I knew I didn't want the bottom ones to have physics. It just wouldn't be very noticeable. When I'm moving the eyes open and closed, I also make sure I think about everything that's around that eye. So you see here, I've moved the eyelid crease. The eyelid crease is right over here. There. I'm moving it up and down as the eye closes. Here's the eye smile shape for the open eye. I'm also moving the eyebrow itself up and down with the eye open, just a tad, because this will add a lot more realism to the expression and a lot more flexibility to the face. It'll make the face look way more animated than it would if you didn't do this. So you see here, I also key it so that the eyelid, let's pause that for a second. I key it so that the eyelid, when the eyebrows go up, the eyelid gets dragged up as well. So when I'm rigging, I think about how everything affects each other. Here, I'm just doing the pupil shrink and enlarge when the eyebrow goes up, or like a shock expression. Even with the eyebrow angle, I also deform the eye because I want it to feel like the eyebrow is really dragging the skin around the eye there. Eyebrow form is the only one I don't do this for because it just has too many combinations with angle and up and down, so it's not really worth. Now, since the mouth here, the mouth line here is going to deform a lot for all the mouth shapes, we're going to do the mesh line tool once again manually. I'm giving everything else just a heavy auto-generated mesh, and then here I'm actually gluing the lip skin to the lip line. That way I don't have to worry about deforming all of these lip skin parts to cover the back of the mouth. It's kind of going to do it automatically, and I might just need to tweak it a little bit. Now, you can see here when I glue, I don't glue these very end parts. My head's blocking. Like here. And that's because I find that the lip corner skin, if you keep it glued on, there always tends to be some crumb effect of the back of the mouth showing through those itty bitty corners. So I actually keep the corner unglued, and that's what I will manipulate to hide what I need to. So with my mouse, I start with 3 keyframes on mouth form and only 2 on mouth open. And then once I finish those, that's when I add the rest of them. I do not create a bunch of keyframes at once. Now, I'm sure you've seen those mouth charts that have a ton of keyframes and stuff. I might post my own mouth chart later for y'all to see what I follow, but even if you're following these complex mouth charts, start with fewer keyframes and then add what you need later. So 3 on mouth form, 2 on mouth open is what I start with. And you can see here, I'm tackling the form first. It looks so stupid. One thing that I keep in mind when I'm rigging the mouth shapes is that I never move the top teeth. I think the mouth looks way more realistic when you keep the top teeth stationary and then just let the rest of the mouth do the work. That's kind of how your real human mouth works. So if you were talking up and down and you were to put your pointer finger on your top teeth, you notice that your top teeth don't really move at all. So we're not going to move them in this rig either. The bottom teeth, however, you will move, and the tongue. Basically everything, all the mouth parts move except the actual top teeth. Now, it's also good to have your artist draw some mouth shapes for you beforehand, and you can see what they'll look like. Most riggers kind of do these standard shapes, but if you have a specific personality character, your artist can probably draw some really nice looking unique mouth shapes, and then you can hand those to your rigger and they can follow that guide. That is the crumb effect I was talking about earlier. You saw there was a bit of a crumb here in the corner of the mouth that I covered with that little bit of lip skin that I didn't glue. And you can see me doing that a few times. So that's why I keep that little bit of part unglued. I scoot over. Now, the reason they don't have a tongue yet is because this character will have a tongue out, so I usually do that last. I find that the O shapes are the hardest ones, like the ooh, ooh. My model is very old, so it doesn't do them very well, but that perfect O is the hardest to transition to from the other mouth shapes. And you can see here, it's kind of hard to get it right. It looks a little funky at first, but we fix it. And you can see I'm constantly scrolling through the parameter to check the transition between other mouth shapes into the O. And I do that for all the mouth shapes. You want to make sure everything's smooth and that these little crumbs, as I call it, of the back mouth don't appear through. No holes in the mouth should appear, essentially. Now, some people will keep the lip color merged with the lip lines, but I keep the color and shading separate because I think you have more freedom like that. Now, these corners, I like the effect of shading they give, but honestly, in the future, I might merge them with the lip color or one of the lip lines, because it was kind of a hassle to make them match all the mouth shapes, and I'm not sure it was quite worth, so I think they definitely could be merged with a lip line in the future. So in the mouth chart that I use, or the one I made rather for myself, there's two O shapes. So we did the big one, and just now you saw me doing the smaller O shape. I also have a grin shape, and this is used for letters like E, and just a general grinning motion. To grin in VTube Studio though, you kind of have to bare your teeth or say E. This mouth rigging does not have the new V-Bridger stuff, but all the same general techniques apply. So it's nothing really out of the ordinary. V-Bridger, all V-Bridger does is add extra parameters. Now here, since I finished the eyes and mouth movement, I'm moving on to eye physics. You can see I'm making the pupil widen and shrink. Now, usually I just scale it up and down when it's a regular round pupil, but because this character has more vertical slanted pupils, like an animal, I'm also scaling it widthwise. Think of a cat when their eyes widen, they become more circular, and when they narrow, they become more thin. We're doing the same thing with this character here. Now, you just saw I have a lot of physics presets. I highly recommend that when you find good physics settings that you like, you save them into your Live2d preset so you can use them over and over. You might need to tweak them from character to character, but I find I almost don't need to tweak them at all. You see there, I was checking out a tutorial for the tongue here. I forgot the name, so I'll link it in the corner, but this tutorial is super helpful for the mouth and tongue movement. And that's what I've been following lately. I used to do two entirely different tongues, like a tongue out drawing and a tongue in. But I like this method because you actually use the same tongue for both, and I think it looks really nice. So you see here, I'm just making it match all the mouth forms. Eel. Bleh. The way you get it to hide behind the bottom teeth is just by keying the draw order. So basically, you select the top teeth and everything above that, and you make them a higher draw order, and then you select the bottom teeth and everything below, make it lower, and then you can switch the tongue draw order between them. Now this mesh I'm giving the headline here, I'm also going to use the same one for the head base. I always draw my meshes this way for the head. I find that it gives me the best movement with no like weird deformations or anything. And you can see I just copy and pasted it to the head color, so they have the same mesh. I also will glue them later on when I start moving and doing the head angles. Here's a good old cheek puff in the mouth open for the jaw. I do these last. I forgot to draw the cheek puff earlier, so I just imported it in. Now, usually when a character has mouth X, I'll make the cheek puff disappear on the opposite side that the mouth X is going on, but this character doesn't have that, so that's something I won't be worrying about with this rig. Okay, here I'm just struggling to select the parts I need to. Just more tongue out testing. The reason I'm doing this huge deformer, the huge like long one for the pupil movement, is because I want them to move together. So I'm going to end up copying that deformer and using it for the left eye as well. I find that when I just move it with a small deformer instead of that wide one, the pupils tend to look like they're moving at a different rate of speed even when they're not, and it's very off-putting. So that's why I have that like weird wide deformer there. It makes sense in the future. Now here, I'm just deforming the eye socket around where the pupil is, the pupil and cornea, where they're looking. This creates more realistic eye movement. So you can see the eye skin gets dragged around by where the cornea is. Humans, their real cornea actually pokes out a bit from their eye. So if you close your eyes and put your pointer finger on your eyelid gently, don't poke your eye out, and move your eyeball around, you can feel your cornea actually moving around. And this is like an exaggerated version of that. So here I am reflecting all the parts I just made and then deleting the ones that cannot be reflected because these eyes are different colors. I am, however, copying the same meshes to the other eye, just so I know they're going to move as similarly as possible, even though they're technically different meshes. And there we go, we got moving eyeballs. Wow! Now we're just going to copy the eyebrow over. Now here, what I've done is selected all the parts I've just copied and reflected over, and I'm assigning them to the other eyes so they aren't synced up anymore. So now we have individual moving right and left eye. So now you can do things like, you know, wink and whatever else eyes do. Just testing out the physics in this window, because the physics also need to be separated for right and left eye. Do keep that in mind. Doing a basic test with the mouth movements. Now here, I noticed when I was doing the test that the cheek puff is not yet synced in with the mouth forms. So this is what I'm doing now. Nice. Anyway, yeah, that's all that's left for this part. I hope that was kind of helpful. The next part is going to show off hair physics and some body physics that I do. So keep an eye out for that. It should be out soon. Alright, thanks for watching!